So today, we're diving into a conflict where there seems to be two completely different stories being told at the same time. You've got one narrative that says the threat is fading away, and then you have another that suggests, well, the exact opposite is happening on the ground. So, what is the real story behind Iran's new missile strategy? Let's get into it. And right off the bat, this slide really just lays out the central puzzle. On one hand, you have headlines reporting that Iranian strikes had basically vanished, dropping by 90%. But on the other hand, our source material is describing the 37th wave of attacks as the single heaviest and longest since the war began. I mean, a 90% drop versus the most intense assault of the entire conflict? Something doesn't add up. Those two realities just can't exist together. So, yeah, that brings us to the big question, right? What is actually going on? Well, according to the source material we're looking at, the answer isn't in the number of missiles being fired, but in the kind of missiles and the whole new strategy behind them. Okay, so first up, Iran's new playbook. And this isn't just about launching more rockets. We're talking about a fundamental strategic shift in both the weapons they're using and the tactics they're deploying. Iran is now bringing a whole new arsenal to the field. You've got things like the Fatah hypersonic missiles, advanced ballistic missiles, a whole suite of new tech. But, the key here isn't just one missile. It's how they're being used together. They're launching them in these overlapping, coordinated waves, with each type of missile designed to stress a different part of the defense network. The goal? To create a saturation attack that's just way too complex to stop. And let's just hang on that number for a second. Mach 15. That is 15 times the speed of sound. A weapon that's moving that fast when it re-enters the atmosphere and is potentially maneuvering, that is an absolute nightmare for any defense system out there. It gets to its target faster and way less predictably than anything existing interceptors were really built to handle. But here's the thing. Speed is only half the picture. The other game changer is the warhead itself. A lot of these new missiles are carrying what are called cluster munitions. So instead of one big boom, one missile releases dozens, even hundreds, of smaller explosives over a massive area. It's kind of like a shotgun blast from the sky. And get this isn't some rare one-off tactic. According to a disclosure from the Israeli Defense Forces that was cited in the source, since late February, about half of all Iranian ballistic missiles have been carrying these cluster warheads. This isn't an experiment. It's become a core part of their strategy, and fast. And this slide shows you exactly why it's so effective. You see, defense systems like the Iron Dome, they're designed to track and take out a single incoming threat. A cluster warhead is specifically designed to break that logic. The warhead separates way up high, and suddenly that one missile becomes dozens of independent projectiles flying everywhere. You simply can't shoot them all down. It's a weapon that's designed to overwhelm the basic math of missile defense. Okay, next up, it's not just about what you fire, but what you do before you fire. The strategy here is to essentially blind the Iron Dome. It's about systematically taking away its ability to even see the missiles coming, long before the main attack even launches. And you can see this deliberate, methodical pattern here. Step 1, you go after the early warning radars. Those are the eyes of the system. Step 2, you hit the satellite and communication hubs that let all the different defense batteries talk to each other. It's only then, once the network is degraded and confused, that you launch the really heavy, fast, and complex warheads right into that blind spot. And it seems this strategy has been disturbingly effective. This quote here, from an analysis mentioned in our source, says it all. Defied expectations. That's intelligence community speak for, we really didn't see this coming, or we got this one wrong. The pre-war assessments really underestimated what Iran could successfully target and damage. And believe me, this isn't just theory. The source lists some very concrete damage. Structures right next to critical THAAD radar systems, which are key for tracking ballistic missiles, were hit. A major satellite comm center was hit not once, but twice. The damage estimate for just one U.S. headquarters was nearly $200 million. This strategy is having a very, very real impact. And with that kind of impact comes the tragic and inevitable human cost. Because when even just a few of these advanced weapons get through a defense shield that's been degraded, well, the reality on the ground is just devastating. Honestly, the numbers on this slide kind of speak for themselves. The deadliest single event that was noted was a missile that actually managed to get through and hit a communal bomb shelter, killing 9 people inside. That's the direct result of a missile making it past defenses that were either totally overwhelmed or just couldn't see it coming. So, let's try to pull all this together. When you start reading between the lines, this doesn't look like a conflict that's winding down at all. It looks a lot more like an escalating stalemate, one that's being driven by new technology and some very clever and deadly new strategies. Which brings us right back to where we started. That falling missile count, that supposed 90% drop, the source argues it was a dangerously misleading number. It wasn't a sign that Iran was running out of steam, it was a sign they were shifting tactics. They were sequencing their attacks, first hitting with high volume to find the weaknesses, and then firing fewer, but far more powerful and sophisticated missiles into that now weakened defense network. And this feeling is clearly echoed by the people on the ground. This quote is from Major General Rafi Millo. He's the chief of the IDF Homefront Command. And he said this the morning after that so-called heaviest attack of the war. More difficult days are expected. That does not sound like the assessment of a military that thinks the threat is 90% gone. And it all leaves us with this one final, really unsettling question. In a war where information itself is a weapon, what's the bigger threat? The missile that you can see coming, or the one that you're being told isn't even there? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.